Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're peeling back the layers of Halloween. So welcome to Mandy's Not So Small Talk, and I'm your host, Mandy. So trust me, Halloween is more than just about costumes and candy. So we're actually going to dive into the history, the spiritual side, and how this season is celebrated all around the world. Plus, we'll explore what makes this particular Halloween extra special because this particular year, we're also welcoming a new moon in Scorpio right on today, November 1st. And so if you still are in the pumpkin mood, please grab your pumpkin spice latte or whatever it is, or a glass of water, and just sit back and get ready for the full story behind, the spooky season. So let's rewind about, 2,000 years ago to an ancient Celtic festival called Semen. I believe I'm pronouncing that right. So it was celebrated on October 31st. The Celts believed that this was a powerful night, marking the end of the harvest and the beginning of winter. So they saw it as a thin time of year where the veil between the worlds of the living and the dead was the thinnest. People would dress up in costumes usually made of animal skins to ward off spirits and hide from any who might have ill intentions. They lit massive bonfires, they told stories, and they held feasts as they prepared for the colder months. So this just really wasn't just about fear. It was actually about respecting and remembering those who had passed on. As Christianity spread, the church tried to Christianize a lot of these ancient festivals. So in the 8th century, Pope Gregory III designated November 1st as All Saints' Day or All Hallows to honor saints and martyrs. That meant that October 31st became All Hallows Eve, which eventually turned into Halloween. But then came November 2nd, All Souls Day, a day that's dedicated to remembering all the faithful who had passed on, not just the saints. So All Saints Day was a celebration of those in heaven, while All Souls Day was a day to pray for those who might still be on their journey. Together, October 31st, November 1st, and November 2nd became a special time for honoring the dead and reflecting on the cycles of life and death. When Halloween made its way to North America, the traditions evolved again. During the 19th century, Irish and Scottish immigrants brought customs like guising, or dressing up and going door to door for treats, and souling, where people would offer prayers for the dead in exchange for the food or soul cakes. But here's where things started to change. By the early 20th century, Halloween had a bit of a prankster reputation. So people, especially kids, would play tricks on their neighbors, sometimes causing damage. So to channel this energy into a safer direction, communities started organizing family-friendly events like parades and trick-or-treating. Then after World War II, sugar rationing ended and candy companies jumped on board promoting Halloween as a candy-centric holiday. Candy was easy, cheap, and thanks to smart advertising, it quickly became the main treat. Before we knew it, Halloween was less about remembering our loved ones and more about the costumes, the decorations, and loads of sugar. So while North America's version of Halloween is very much about candy and costumes, other parts of the world approach this season with different customs. In Latin America, especially in Mexico, we have the beautiful tradition of Dia de los Muertos, or the Day of the Dead. This takes place on November 1st and 2nd. So unlike Halloween's spooky vibe, Dia de los Muertos is a colorful celebration honoring the lives of the loved ones who have passed. Families create ofrendas or altars decorated with marigolds and photos and candles and sugar skulls. And these sugar skulls are called calaveras, if I'm pronouncing that right. So these skulls aren't meant to be scary, but they're actually meant to symbolize the cycle of life and death. So this tradition shows that death isn't an end, but a continuation, honoring the memory of loved ones with joy rather than fear. In Japan, there's a similar time called Obon, where families honor their ancestor spirits with lanterns and dance. And in Poland, people celebrate Ziadi, which I don't know if I'm saying that right again, but it means forefathers Eve, where they light candles in cemeteries to guide their ancestors' spirits. And over in the UK, there's Guy Fawkes Night on November 5th. We also celebrate that in Newfoundland. That's where I was born. Though it's not exactly a Halloween celebration, people light bonfires and set off fireworks to remember the failed gunpowder plot in 1605. It's just another example of how this time of year often revolves around fire, light, and reflection. Okay, now let's talk about the astrological layer, because this Halloween, we have a new moon in Scorpio, which couldn't be more fitting. Scorpio season itself is about transformation, diving deep and confronting the shadows within us. Scorpio is a sign of death and rebirth, ruled by Pluto, the planet associated with the underworld. So we're in powerful energy right now. A new moon in Scorpio is an ideal time for inner work, reflecting on what we need to let go of, much like the leaves falling in autumn. It's a time for setting intentions that might challenge us to actually face hidden fears or desires as we remember those who have passed. We're also called to confront our own deaths and rebirth on an emotional level, and Scorpio invites us to transform. This new moon gives us a chance to tap into the real spirit of the season and ask ourselves, what needs to be released, renewed, or reborn within us? So when we put it all together, Halloween was never just about having a good scare or loading up on candy. The original purpose was to honor life, death, and the ancestors who came before us. But today, with the candy industry pushing sweets and the costume industry pushing new looks every year, we've mostly lost touch with that purpose. Our culture has made Halloween into a night of superficial connections, going door to door to get sugar highs, while the true connection to our roots and our families and our ancestors has faded. And here's the irony. In a season originally meant to honor life and reflect on death, we're literally loading up on sugar, which isn't exactly the best thing for our health. It's interesting to think about how this shift from soul cakes and community bonding to candy and commercialism reflects a bigger pattern, one that's more about short-term pleasure and less about genuine connection. But it's not all lost. I think there's a lot we can do to bring some of the original meaning back to Halloween and this time of year. So here's a few ideas. One, you can create your own altar. You don't need to be in Mexico to make an ofrenda. Set up a small place with photos of your loved ones who've passed and add some candles, some flowers, or their favorite things, and take a moment to honor their memory. Two, soul cakes redux. Try baking something simple like soul cakes with your family. You can even go on a step further and take a moment to share your stories about loved ones as you bake. Three, you can set new moon intentions. So use the energy of the new moon in Scorpio to set intentions. You can journal about what you'd like to transform in yourself or to let go, and imagine planting the seed for new beginnings. Or reduce the sugar. Let's face it, we don't eat all that candy. Maybe hand out small treats that are less sugary, or add a little fun note with a Halloween fact on it. Now, I know that the door-to-door trick-or-treating has passed, but just something to think about for next year. I know I am. Okay, and number 5, connect with nature. Take a walk in a park. Feel the changing season and connect to the cycles of life around you. The beauty of autumn can be a great reminder of life's natural ebbs and flow. So there you have it. The real story behind Halloween, All Saints Day, All Souls Day, and Dia de los Muertos, all wrapped up with the transformative energy of the new moon in Scorpio. So I hope that this inspires you to bring a little more depth and meaning to your Halloween season this year and those to follow. So let me know in the comments, how do you celebrate? Do you have any traditions that you'd like to bring back? If you found this video enlightening, give it a thumbs up and subscribe and hit that bell for more content that goes beyond the surface. So have a meaningful Halloween, All Saints Day, everyone, and I will see you in the next video.